Hey everybody, I hope you're well. This is a special live vlog because there are a number of candidates running for Oakland mayor who take positions on subjects and proposed development, but don't read about them. They make the proposed development in and of itself a political issue. Here I'm talking about Howard Terminal, the proposed baseball stadium of 35,000 seats to be, if it ever gets approved, or if the Athletics escape to Las Vegas, then it's for naught, at Jack London Square on a 55-acre piece of land that's called Howard Terminal. Now, the person I'm talking about now his name is Tyron Jordan. And Tyron came into this late. He, if I'm not mistaken, I believe it was the same person that used to contact me. He worked for the Department of Justice. But his website doesn't explain at all who he works for or worked for. He talks about his involvement in Oakland. And that's about it. What I'm going to do right now, real quick, is put this on, if I can, I'm trying to authorize Prism. I thought I did that, but I didn't. So I will go for, I will go for the feed to be over at my Facebook page. And there it is. Okay. The habit of people like Mr. Jordan is to take a less than well-informed position on a development project of late. This is something that has been born of the last, well, really arguably in the last two election cycles, we faced major ones. But what happens is that a person doesn't actually read about a project or projects. They just go with what a group tells them. So if that person wants to be identified as progressive, then they will take a position that they observe others who call themselves progressive taking. They won't think about it. They won't apply any critical thinking to address or help form and shape how they view that development project. And in the case of Howard Terminal, as I said, if it gets built, all right, if it gets built, it's important to know what laws are shaping its construction and how the money flows according to those laws are to be directed. But if you go to Mr. Jordan's website, where he starts right off telling you and me that he's opposed to Howard Terminal, and then gives a reason why, there's little room for discussion. He writes on his website that he's opposed to Howard Terminal because he believes that public money should go to objectives that help people. That, for example, keep the homeless not homeless, keep the homeless housed. But that sentence right then and there, that I'm paraphrasing, demonstrates that he doesn't understand that Howard Terminal is to be shaped by SB 293 Skinner and what is called Enhanced Infrastructure Financing District legislation. I'm going to explain it simply. When you have a sports arena or stadium, the value of that is so big if it's privately owned, it should be in this context, and it is in the context of Howard Terminal, that it throws off a gigantic, huge size, huge amount of tax increment financing revenue that can be bonded against to pay for not just infrastructure, but also social projects as per not just SB 293 Skinner, but AB 464 Mullen, which was passed last year, which directs that tax increment financing monies in California can be used to help businesses recover from the pandemic. That is in black and white. Okay? So let's do quick math. If we have no Howard Terminal, then we have no money. There's zero Howard Terminal. So we have no money from tax increment financing because there's no Howard Terminal, right? There's no Howard Terminal to tax the property value of. So we have no tax increment money, so we have no what? No spending directed by the public financing authority that's supposed to be established to a series of plans that would help people. So that process that I just laid out for you, right there, tells everyone, including Mr. Jordan, that he is completely wrong. But it also says that since this legislation has been on the books since October 11th of 2019, for him to step in to a mayoral election and not do his homework on a project that he focuses on at the beginning of his website, right at the top after his introduction, it shows what kind of mayor we're going to get. Someone who is lax regarding details. Someone who just sort of mails it in. Someone who asks or causes one to ask the question, why are you running for mayor? Really? Because the reasons that he gives are ones I don't believe. His website shows a candidate that quite purely and simply doesn't understand what it means to be the mayor of Oakland at a time when we need people who can go get in and understand where to pull the levers of government to make change. Mr. Jordan doesn't understand that. And maybe that's why he has been ducking my requests for interviews of late. Or maybe it's that he thinks that talking to me, or by talking to me, he's not talking to someone who's progressive. There are some people who mistake thinking for lack of a political position. What I mean by that is this. I am not a person that favors protesting because, in my opinion, protesting simply shows a lack of desire to actually alter and change a system to get it to behave in a way that it helps those who have the least. So we become, in a sense, reduced to trying to stop something that was in the works and allowed by law for some years. That's where we are. That's where a lot of people are with Howard Terminal. That's where a lot of people are with a lot of actions that are happening in Oakland. They are always behind, yet they call themselves progressive. So because I have that attitude, they assume I'm against them. I'm not. What I'm against is their way of attacking these problems. It's a way that I view as anti-intellectual. It's a way that I view that already has to challenge it other ways that people use. Let's take, for example, the abortion lobby and how the abortion lobby, which I abhor, has worked tirelessly to change laws. And so the moment they saw an opening, they got it. Let's take okay, all right, they got it. They got it with Roe v. Wade. They continued to maintain it, but they didn't go far enough as having Roe v. Wade, or I should say, advancing beyond Roe v. Wade, so that we had a true law of the land that said purely abortions are legal. We kind of hung on to Roe v. Wade until the Supreme Court took its recent action, all right? But they're still working. My point is, though, that people who understand how to change societies focus on changing laws. I'm not saying don't protest, but I'm saying that in the Oakland parlance, too often protest comes, when a protest happens, it's a key that something is too late. Like right now, we should have a homeless initiative. It should be against the law for any private person or public organization to make an Oaklander homeless. Very simple law. This would be a very simple initiative. Okay, that's what should be worked on. But what happens is we have a group of people that like to get in your face all the time, and it's sad. And these are not just good people; these are great people, fantastic individuals. All right, who are understandably frustrated. I get it. All right, but I'm frustrated by watching them do what they do and being consistently harassed, hurt, jailed. It emotionally hurts me to watch people that I love and respect go through that. But so as a result, they think, because I'm critical of those tactics, they think that I'm against them. I am not against them. So somehow in that mix, Mr. Jordan, who wants to call himself a progressive, thinks that I'm against progressives. I'm not. Or I'm against socialists. No, I'm not. That's why I went after John Riemann when I was criticizing him. Because it would be great to have a socialist mayor if John relaxed his ego, listened, and learned. He doesn't do that. John thinks he's got the answers, and yet he proves with every conversation he not only doesn't have the answer, he doesn't want to listen. So he gets mad. I think having him as mayor would be fantastic if I were comfortable with the idea that he understood how to really apply socialist principles to running a city. Because if he did, he would have already recognized that the city is by and large already socialist. He doesn't get we have a mix of economies. All right? And I say John because, not just because of that, but he's also quick to say, well, you're for Howard Terminal. Well, but John, you don't understand legislation to begin with. And he doesn't. So that's why I make these vlogs. Because they don't want to have a dialogue about this sort of thing. And they don't want you criticizing them. Especially if you're black. Okay. They just want somebody to tell, and I understand that because it's just to tell why they're running. Again and again and again. I get that. But look, we should also have the right to say, hey, I disagree with you about this take that you have, and here's why. And so then we can have a reasonable conversation and really get to a solution. And we can have a group of people that do that, all right? But the people running for mayor now, and it doesn't matter whether they're for or against Howard Terminal, don't truly understand the legislation. But the biggest, saddest part of all of this is that the city's bumbling around with the Howard Terminal and not understanding what it was doing and not following the law written has caused Howard Terminal to gain so much attention, currency in the public that the opinions formed because of that have caused to further retard Howard Terminal's progress. That's where we are at right now with Howard Terminal. So you would say, what's the next step, Zenny? Unfortunately, I would point you to watch what Major League Baseball does during the World Series and the Athletics, because it may very well be at that point, as it was expected to be last year, that the Athletics released those photographs that we've never seen of the facility that everyone says they're going to build at the Las Vegas Festival grounds. And if that happens, it will be a continuation of the lack of Oakland's lack of willingness to do big projects. We used to do them. But I said this during the whole Raiders issue, when the Raiders were flirting around with a stadium, either the Coliseum or in Las Vegas. I said that the Raiders, the Oakland, has to prove that it has the will and the initiative to complete big projects. It proved in the Oakland parlance of the Raiders it did not, and it's proving again in the A's situation it does not, and now we're seeing the underpinnings of why. People like Mr. Jordan who want to establish a political point of view, but they do not want to build competent government that pulls the existing levers of existing legislation and programs to achieve objectives they say they are desire. You understand what I'm saying? They say they desire. So there should be a master class for all candidates on tax increment financing. There should be a master class for all candidates on development financing. There should be a master class for all candidates on Melrose financing. We should make sure that the people that are running for office are appropriately primed from an education perspective on how the city works. But this thing doesn't change. Don't I say thing? These methods, they don't change by political party or ideology. Tax increment financing calculations are the same. Melrose process is the same, and so on and so on and so on. So I hope Mr. Jordan does a little studying. It's a hope. Subscribe to Zenny62 and bookmark oaklandnewsnowblog.com.